Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of Weekend Roundup. I'm George, your Poker Outdoors guy. I hope everyone's having a great weekend, especially happy Mother's Day to all you moms, especially my mom. Love you guys, and I wish I could get up and see you, but when all this coronavirus stuff is over, we'll be sure we get up and visit. I hope everyone's doing good. Fishing's been tough, guys, hasn't it? I mean, weather's been absolutely terrible. It feels like we're back in March for all intents and purposes here, but I know I was out myself this morning, and boy, I'll tell you, I couldn't buy a bite if I wanted to. The temperature was just horrible, winds kicked up. But maybe you guys are out catching something. I'd like you guys to tell me what you guys are getting. Drop us a note, say hello, tell us where you're from and what you've been catching. We got a great show lined up tonight. Going to talk to a real good friend of mine about some tactics for some brown trout. But first, we got to do some thank some of our friends and our sponsors, the great guys at Tony Majot Products. They're always supportive of Poker Outdoors guy. They got a complete line of mojos and bunker spoons, special custom rods. Everything you need to get on that big old 50-pound striper. So check them out yourself. Go on to TonyMajotProducts.com. And they're available all over, any tackle shops, Tackle Direct, lots of places. But you can check out their full line at TonyMajotProducts.com and get into one of those big old 50-pounder yourself. Also, the Fisherman Magazine. Don't forget, every Thursday, check out Jim Hutchinson, managing editor of New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of Fisherman Magazine. Gives you all the update for the upcoming week. And you can even check out me giving you the Pocono report, too. So that's Thursdays at thefisherman.com. And, guys, don't forget, while you're there, pick up subscription. The May edition is out right now. $29.95 gets you 38 issues. It's the best deal in town. Get all the tips, tactics, and tackle you need to be a better fisherman. So great stuff. We're going to have a great show today. Today we got a good friend, and I want to introduce you to him. His name is Justin Lerner. This guy's always posting some great pics, and I'm really interested to talk to him about how he gets on these things. When I do my report for the magazine every week, I get the pleasure of including some of his stuff, and the guy always seems to get on fish. I kind of nicknamed him the Machine because wherever we go, he's always got the biggest fish, got some great brown trout. And I thought we would bring him in to give us some tips on how we can get into some of these brown trout. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I don't catch fish like that. Let me see if I can bring Justin in here. Justin, you there, buddy?
Yeah, how you doing, George? Thank you very much.
How are you doing, sir?
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Oh, a pleasure to have you. Hey, have you been out fishing today at all?
I actually didn't get out today. I got out yesterday, and even in the pretty terrible weather, ranging from a little bit of sun to snow, still ended up with a few browns.
Right. So where do you, first of all, I'm not asking to spot burn or anything, but where do you fish at? What are some of the waters that you typically fish?
I mean, there's a lot of different places that I fish. I fish the Raritan in New Jersey. I'll fish, the Lehigh, in PA. Those are two really good waters. But I mean, honestly, in Northeast Pennsylvania, a lot of pretty much most of the rivers do hold populations of wild brown trout. Conditions are great, especially towards the Poconos. Pennsylvania itself really is flourishing. I mean, there's just countless rivers that have great trout populations there.
Right. I agree. That's one of the things, I normally don't do a whole lot of trout fishing, but I've managed to get even by accident, a couple of them myself this year and some pretty good size ones. I don't know if they're just the wilds or the stocked ones, but they seem to be doing better this year. Do you see that as well?
Yeah. I mean, this year the population has been very good. Most of those rivers, as long as there's not too much harvest on them, they'll do really well. I mean, they release real well, they survive, and like I said, there's a lot of as long as water temperatures are within their boundaries and they don't get too warm in the summer, they'll hold healthy populations of them.
I got you. So, all right. So you fish a lot all over Pennsylvania, Jersey. What are some of the tactics you use? I mean, like I said, I catch them by accident. You seem to be kind of an expert at them.
Well, I mean, big browns are predators, even more so than rainbows and brook trout. They're, very predatory fish. So I usually, I use jigs, spinners, plugs, and a big thing for me is covering water. There's not going to be, a bunch of very big fish usually not, in a single pool. I mean, there might be one or two, but the key is usually, just covering as much water as you possibly can to increase your chances of coming across a big fish.
Right. Now you fish from shore most of the time, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Wade in the shore.
okay, so are you looking more in deeper water, shallow pockets? What's your kind of tactic when you head out?
Deeper water is good. Deep runs are good. Structure, wood, rocks, big rocks, boulders, things like that. But depth can be relative. If you have a little pocket that's just a little bit deeper than the surrounding water, could even be, 2.5 feet deep. Doesn't have to be that deep. It can hold a big fish.
Right.
They're looking, they're looking to sit in some of this deeper water and wait for food to be, flushed by them. And, any pocket or any little depression or anywhere that they can kind of hide, is always good.
That's cool. That's really cool. And I was out with a good friend of mine, Eric Gutstall, and he took me out for some trout fishing earlier this year. We did a video up on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet or not, but it was a really great time. It was early February. It was snowing. It was cold, and we managed to get on some brown trout. And one of the things I was really surprised of is, it's 30 degrees out, or it was even, I think, 28 one morning we went out, and they're chasing spinners. And I thought that was just crazy. You think that cold, that water temperature has got to be just in the 30s itself. And they're running after spinners. I just thought that was nuts.
Yeah. I mean, they will be active and aggressive even in pretty cold water. Once the water temperature dips down into the 30s, then they start to get a little more sluggish. You can still get them. You won't see as many fish on those tactics. A lot of times that's a good time to switch up to something like a small jig and doing small jigs and stuff like that through holes. But they don't seem to be as affected as much from weather fronts. I mean, if like what we had this weekend, there was an incredible temperature drop, and I would expect 90% of the species to pretty much shut down or slow down a lot. And it just doesn't seem to affect them in the streams that much. I think it takes, long-term weather changes to really slow them down. But and again, that's the other good thing is they're active, every season. The only thing to be to keep in mind is that if a stream you're fishing does get, up above 68, 70 degrees in the summer, the fish can stress out. So it's usually better to avoid those places. But thankfully, there's a lot of streams throughout PA that will stay cold year round and do hold trout that, you don't have to worry about fishing for.
Right. But now how about like flow? There's a couple weekends there we just had tons of rain. How does the flow affect them? Do you fish that differently? Do you just give up on those weekends when you got high flow, or how do you manage that?
Well, it short answer is it depends on the river. It depends what happens. The muddy, chalky, very dirty water with extremely limited visibility is not good. It's very tough. You still could catch fish, but you have to get the presentation right in front of them. On the other hand, water that's just high and tinted or high and a little bit dirty can be very good.
Okay.
And the two toughest times for targeting the big brown trout is either when the water's very low and very clear, or when it's if it ends up getting muddy. Some streams, you just have to wait a few hours after a heavy rain, and it'll settle out, and it'll still be tinted and a little cloudy, but that's still good as long as you have a little bit of visibility. It's still can be very good.
Sure. No, that sounds great. But you were saying like jerk baits, and that's another one I thought that was incredibly of a fast presentation,
Mhm.
even in cold water. Does that
Yep.
seem like something you use more often than not? Is those jerk baits?
Yes, absolutely,
Is,
absolutely. And I mean, for the bigger fish, you almost don't have to worry about going too big. I mean,
mm.
musky size lures,
Oh,
it's
really?
in that, but you don't have to worry about going pretty big on the presentations. I mean, I've caught 18-inch brown trout that have spit up, 6 or 7-inch suckers. They're, they're eating big baits.
That's really cool. Really cool. Hey guys, you leave a comment here. We got Justin Lerner on here talking about some brown trout fishing. Put your questions in your comments while he's on here. Hopefully, we can all learn something and get a little bit better on these brown trout. I know I need a lot to learn, so I'm hoping I can pick up a few tips. Put your questions up here or your comments, and we'll see if we can get Justin to help us out here. So, besides the brown trout, I've seen you're also very good on some of the rainbows as well. Are your tactics any different with them?
Yeah, I mean, I get rainbows to hit jerk baits too, but spinners and again small jigs, swung through the hole are usually my go-to for big rainbows.
Okay.
Um, they don't seem to be quite as aggressive, and like I said, I will catch big rainbows on plugs, but my go-to for them is usually just a really small jig,
Okay.
1/64 of an ounce.
Oh, kind of like the little trout magnets and stuff like that.
Surprisingly enough, those things don't look like they don't really have much action. They don't look like much, but they produce, and they
Hmm.
produce very well.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we were talking to the company at the Great American Outdoor Show, and boy, they move like crazy. A lot of people use them on the creeks and stuff. We got a
Ooh.
question. Art Bagley says, "What's your thoughts on night fishing for browns?"
Well, night fishing for browns is a very good time to target the very big fish. Tagging studies have shown that large brown trout tend to stick to deep holes, or they stick up in cover in log jams and things like that. And during the day, and I mean, of course, you can catch them if you get something real close to them. But at night is when they go out and they patrol the river and they hunt. They hunt for bait fish. I mean, and other. I mean, presumably anything small enough to fit in their mouth. You hear the guys up in the up on the West Branch, tossing mouse flies at night.
Right.
That's all. It's a very productive way to do it. They're very much like flathead catfish in that manner. They stick in tight to cover and deep holes and pockets during the day, and then at night they're out hunting.
Nice. I think it'd be good to mention, Justin. I think you have a degree in wildlife biology. I think I read in your bio somewhere.
Yeah, I have a bachelor's of science in marine biology and a master of science in fisheries, in
Okay.
marine fisheries.
So you got a good background when you're talking about some of these fish. You really understand what they're doing and why then.
I think so.
Well, obviously it helps. I mean, just looking at the fish that you bring in every week, so you got to have some secret. And I'm sure the education behind it helps learning their behavior and whatnot. So Art Begley says, great answer. Thank you very much. I want to run down and say hi to some folks. Ralph Barton says, hey, George, how's it going? So good to see you here, Ralph. Captain John Broussard, he's the shark chaser. He's out of Florida. He goes and catches some great sharks. Fishes with a good friend of ours, Katie Courget. She's caught some monster fish with Captain John. Our good friend Josh Taylor says, yo, how you doing, Josh? Hey, a couple more weeks, you'll be up here sitting next to me. We'll do a show pretty soon when you're here. Art, again, thank you for your questions, and I hope that that answer helped you guys out. So, yeah, drop us a line here. We got more, see if we can get more out of Justin here. Any tips or tricks or anything you guys need answers to? Anything else on the trout front? Did you know anything on the brookies? Do you fish them much?
Not a ton, but sometimes I will go to. There's quite a few wild trout streams in New Jersey and plenty in PA that do have native brook trout, and they're
Right.
usually usually not very big, but they're beautiful fish. And you know, most of those places you can just kind of bounce around through the pocket water. Fly fishing for them is great. You get some real small presentations, but you can also catch them on the tiny jigs as well.
Right, right. Got a question from Jay Batcha. He says, "Do you fish the Lackawanna River?"
I haven't, but I've heard that that's got some really good brown trout fishing in it.
Maybe that's something to check out. Hey, there's Brian Knowles. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for checking in. We're chatting with Justin Lerner here, giving us some tips and tactics on some brown trout and other trout. What else do you like to fish? I mean, if you can't trout fish, what's your second best thing to go?
Well, I mean, in freshwater, I love pike fishing in the
Nice.
summer. Saltwater, I do a lot of tuna fishing, striped bass, you know, billfish. But I mean, I like it all. You know, it's all a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, once you know water, you know, once it gets just a little bit warmer out, I'll start switching over and targeting pike.
Nice. We got a question from our friend Josh Taylor. Ever encounter any wild tiger trout?
Yes, I have. There's a few spots that you can, and some of them it can be difficult to tell. But usually, I mean, I'm guessing the smaller, more vibrant colored ones with, you know, the full fins and everything, very well be wild tigers, and that can happen anywhere that you have wild brook and wild brown reproduction. It's not extremely common, but it does happen. And
Right.
if you do go to, you know, if you look through, depending on where you live, any of the wild trout literature that the state will put out, you can find streams where they do have both wild brooks and wild browns. And in any of those, you'll have a chance at getting a wild tiger.
Nice. I hope that answered your question, Josh. Thank you for that. Tell us a little bit about your pike fishing too, which I know that's something I like to do. We used to go up to Thousand Islands up into Canada and do some pike up in there. And that's always, you know, there's monster pike up there. What area you used to fish down here for pike? I assume you go in New Jersey?
Yes, there's a few lakes and the Passaic River. I mainly stick to the Passaic River.
Okay.
You know, the whole river is about 90 miles long. There's pike throughout pretty much all of it. And, you know, there's some surprisingly big fish in there. I mean, there's a lot of fish in the, you know, a lot of fish 24 to 30, but quite a few from 30 to 35. Anything over 36 is really pretty big. I've had them up to about 40.
Wow.
But I've seen pictures of bigger fish, probably into the low 40s, maybe 42, 43 inches. And, you know, as I've heard stories of ones even bigger than that.
Sure. They're a handful when they get that big. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. But it's you know, it's another great you know, shoreline activity I pretty much do. You know, there's some areas of the river, downriver, that you can definitely get a boat in, and lots of places to get in kayaks. But a lot of times I'll walk the bank with big lures.
Nice. Real nice. Hey, we have another question from Art Bailey. He wants to know, what's your go-to bait in the upper Delaware River for trout?
My go-to bait, well, I pretty much only use artificials. But again, when I fish up there targeting the big browns, I'm usually using jerk baits.
Jerk baits, yeah. What size typically? You know, 4, 6 inch, something in that range, or is that too big? 6 inch?
No, that's 6 inches fine. I mean,
Is it
4 to 6 inch? Yeah, I mean anywhere from 2.5, 3 inch to up to 6 inches.
Okay.
5, 6 inches. I mean, like I said, you know, I've caught on even small lures. I've caught fish that are barely twice the size of the lure, and
Right.
it's my feeling that if you really want to target the biggest fish in the system, throw something big.
Right. Got a question from Captain John Broussard. Said, well, how about muskies? What's the trick to catching those? Have you done much muskie fishing?
I've done some musky fishing, not a ton, so I wouldn't consider myself that well informed about it. I mean, but what seems to be with muskies is just persistence. and perseverance. You got to kind of alter your expectations from a fishing trip.
Right.
When I first started doing it, a lot of times, if you got fish to follow, if you got strikes but didn't land a fish, that's still a semi-productive day.
Sure.
But muskies are very moody, and they take a lot of perseverance to really pin down and pattern in an area.
For sure.
I've done well thinking outside the box. I mean, a lot of times smaller stuff can work for them, believe it or not, in areas they're highly pressured.
Okay. Yeah, Art Bailey says big bait, big fish. That's his comment on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, guys, any more questions for Justin? I think that's a ton of knowledge that he's gotten. Again, with his background in marine fisheries, I think he's a good resource we can tap into for getting into some of these browns. Obviously, very, very successful. And I don't see any more comments. So, is there anything else you want to leave our viewers with, Justin? I really appreciate you coming out.
No, other than, I mean, with these wild brown trout, it's important to handle them carefully and really release the wild fish. When people bring fish home, there's a lot of stocked fish, and that's and they're perfect to bring home for any meal. But usually with the wild, especially the bigger wild browns, it's great to keep those genetics in the river and be able to go back. And I mean, I have caught fish, caught the same fish from the same hole months apart. So, you're giving back, and you never know that 20, 22, 23-inch fish, how big that fish is going to end up getting.
Sure. Josh says, wait till a muskie follows your trout in and have a bigger rod ready. Yeah. I think Josh has had that happen already to him. Hey, we got another question from Jay Batcha. He says, what color jerk baits do you find work best?
I mean, I like standard colors, silver, gold, black and gold. But to be totally honest, I haven't noticed that there's really much of a preference for a particular color. I like something silvery and shiny to get their attention. But in most of the areas that you're fishing, unless you're fishing a very, very slow water, these fish have a split second to make a decision. It's not like a muskie that can follow your lure and have a nice look at it.
Sure.
Usually, especially in faster current, they have a split second. They're either going to hit it or they're not. And
so it's a reaction bite. They just see it and whack it. And
yeah, I mean, they usually I don't think they really get a good look at it.
Right.
So I've caught them on every color under the sun. And I mean, I've had certain days where I was catching them great on one color, and I broke off that plug in a snag and then put another one on and totally different color and just continued to catch them. So I don't think I think it's what you have confidence in, what you really like throwing. But I haven't noticed, I haven't had a color that I haven't caught fish on that I put out.
That's good to know. Art Bailey says he's been using trout for bait, and I know that's a big tactic for the striper guys. Of course, that's like candy, right? And Captain John Broussard says, thank you guys, great answer. So you're welcome. So that's what we're here to do, and what we're trying to do with the show is get you guys answers. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I think if you guys don't have any more questions, I think we're going to let Justin go, and we're going to wrap up the rest of our show here. What do you think? I don't see any more questions, so I guess we're just going to kind of move on here. Justin, I want to thank you so much. You are a wealth of knowledge. Maybe we'll have you back again, talk about maybe some of your saltwater stuff. That'd be a whole different show,
Yeah, I mean, I did do some satellite tagging research on swordfish down off of the southeast coast of Florida.
So, that would be a good show to talk about. We can do a whole show on that one. My friend,
thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. We really appreciate it, and we'll definitely get you back on here soon. You have a great night.
You too, George. Take care.
All right, thanks. All right, guys, what do you think? That was great, huh? I love getting people and talking to people who are just a wealth of knowledge and know a whole lot more than I do about some of this stuff. If you guys know, you fish with me, that I'm not a big trout guy, and I'd like to learn more. I've caught a few. Our buddy Josh, he fishes everything, and he's taken me out and got me on a few brown trout too. Eric Goodstall's got me on a few, and I think I might have the trout bug just a little bit. And watching some of these ones that Justin has, I think it's going to be a little more often that I'll be out doing some brown trout. All right, guys, guess what? It's time for our trophy board to see who's catching what here over the past week. So let's take a look and see what we've got. We've got good friend Tom Gilmore was out up at Delaware Lake Dam and getting out on some really nice bass in his kayak. Great job there, Tom. We've got Ryan Scott, and what a story this is. Ryan's out trout fishing with 6-pound test line, a little fathead minnow, and what does he get? No, a 10-pound bass. We couldn't do that if we tried, and Ryan does it by accident. I think that's just his luck. He is always successful. Josh Fletcher was out on Delaware, got himself a couple of nice shad. I think he said he got about 20 between him and his buddy, and they also got into a really nice walleye as well. Great for the Delaware, just time of year for that. I think we got a couple more weeks of shad fishing, especially with this water temperature down. I think we might even have an extended season. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Art Begley, yeah, Art, we got you on this one too. Art got into some great bass with the black and purple spinnerbait near Bushkill, PA. What a nice bass there, Art. Good stuff. Also, Brandon Gibbons out on the Susquehanna, getting into some with a Guggen jerkbait. Here we go with those jerkbaits again, guys. You can say they really produce. My good friend Eric Goodstall, hand-tied marabou jigs in some of these local ponds, these little hidden ponds you see back in the woods, got into some beautiful crappie, and it sounds like he's been really getting into them. But he's been releasing all these since they're up on the spawn. And here's a catch. Our good friend Matt Trombley up from Vermont. If you remember, we did a video with Matt about 2 years ago up there working on some bass and some of the smallmouth. He even got me into my very first sheep's head. Well, Matt was out up in Vermont for a spring gobbler season and got himself into a really nice spring gobbler. How about that? Congratulations, Matt. Well, that's going to end up our trophy board. There's some great fish there. Be sure you guys send in your pics to us, and we'll get you on the trophy board. Be sure to include a little bit about where you got it and what you caught it on, so we can share that kind of info with everybody else and help everybody else get on big fish as well. Okay, so that takes us down to our trivia giveaway. And here's one for you guys this week, and I'm telling you what we got for a prize. My good friend from Revolution Trolling Spoons gave us, we got some of these salmon spoons here. If you guys like those lake trout and salmon, good friend Jeff Fours gave me a sample. I got 4 of these I'm going to give away. Now, last week we had a little problem with the audio and stuff, and I think we got it fixed this week. But John Augustine actually did win the trivia question. So I got John's stuff. I'm going to be taking that down to him. Congratulations to John. Now, this week, here is our question, and we're going to see the first person that gives me the right answer in the comments. I'll give away these 4 salmon spoons too, okay? So here is the question. The white perch is a very close relative to what fish? The yellow perch, the walleye, or the striped bass? Which one is it, guys? See who gives me the first correct answer here. And you'll get yourself some Revolution Trolling Spoons, salmon spoons. These also work well for lake trout, salmon, stripers. Definitely work on pike and muskie as well. Give me a correct answer here, guys. Sammy, no. Walleye. Arthur, yellow perch. No, I'm sorry. Jeremy, I can't give my son the winning prize. Come on now. We got to disqualify family here. Come on, next person that gives me the correct answer gets the prize. Nobody else, huh? All right, guys. Well, I'm going to keep an eye on the comments here. One more second, and if not, we're going to punt, and we'll do this next week. But give me the answer. First person wins. I'm sorry, Art. I can't give another question. This is what I got set up for this week. All right, J Batch has got it. It's the striped bass. Yeah, believe it or not, they are in the same family. Actually, my good friend Josh Taylor told me about that, and I did some research this morning, validated the genus or whatever they taught. I don't know. I should have asked Justin this. He's the biologist, but yeah, they're related to the striped bass. They're very close. So you wouldn't think of it. Okay, Jay, these will be coming your way. I'll get in touch with you, get some place where I can mail these to you. And you got 4 nice spoons coming your way. I appreciate you guys playing. That's always a fun time. Well, guys, any other questions? I think that's going to wrap up our show. Really enjoy having everybody here. The comments this week are great. I'm glad we got that working out real well. Hope to see you next week. Be sure to send in those pics. Hopefully the weather picks up. I'm just getting so tired of being cold in the rain and the wind, and it's just been a mess out fishing. I think we need some good 75-degree weather, a little bit of sunshine, and maybe these fish will start to turn on. So I want to again thank the Tony Maggio Products, the Fisherman Magazine, and as always, you can email me at PoconoGeorge@outlook.com. Send me your pictures, drop me a note, whatever you want, and that's going to wrap up this episode of the Pocono Outdoors Guy Weekend Roundup. We're going to head out, guys. We'll talk to you soon. I'll see you next.